The global outbreak of COVID-19 has grounded sporting events around the world. Here in Kenya, the athletics sector has been brought to a halt, with the country's elite athletes left stranded in training after preparing to compete in spring season international competitions. Well, for more on that story, we are now joined from Iten by the self-styled University of Champions by our correspondent, Saddique Shaban, who has more on this story. Saddique, very briefly, how have top athletes at the cradle of distance running here in Kenya reacted to the cancellation or postponements of events on the international stage?
Mahia, they are currently stranded in these parts of the world, unsure of what to do after training for weeks, for months. Yet some of these major competitions which serve as source of revenue for them have now either been cancelled or postponed. So they are training at the moment, going out in reduced numbers. We've seen quite reduced numbers in the last 2 days we've been here, but the athletes say they do not know what to do after training, unsure about the next move. They say there's a lot of unknowns at this point, and they, like everybody else, they will have to wait and see how this pans out.
Now, Saddique, obviously for now, those who had prepared for these international events, for the cancelled Spring Road running events, do have to keep in shape for the Olympics and fall season later in the year. What challenges does this pose for these athletes?
Mahia, the bigger challenge here is distraction from training without really having something to do after training for 2-3 hours in a day. What is it that they do? These are people that are used to training early in the morning and then relaxing for a few hours perhaps, then hit the evening run. But they find themselves with a lot of time in their hands, hours to kill with no competition inside. I spoke to one athlete today who told me he started his season in November and he was looking forward to an event in Barcelona tomorrow on Sunday, but all of that now is gone. So how do they keep themselves busy? Some of these guys say they will have to do business at some point, but they will have to, the real challenge is really how to keep themselves in shape without gaining weight and having, just to keep their body and mind together, hoping that this current challenge, eases off in the coming weeks.
And finally, Saddique, presuming the Olympics do go ahead, are those who had been selected to represent Kenya, are they still focused on training?
Certainly, Maya, as we know, Kenya is the only country which luckily held their Olympic trials early in January before the situation got out of hand. We've been speaking to 2 members of the team who say they have no option but to keep in shape, hoping that, of course, Athletics Kenya would make that call, that IOC would make that important call that the Olympics, in fact, would be on. But, at this point in time, they're also worried about putting too much into training without having a place to, test themselves and test their competitive edges. So it's actually a wait-and-see situation for most of them. But they are pleased that they were selected for Olympics. And they say they are very lucky because they know if Olympics are called, on schedule, they'll be able to go. And they are worried, in fact, about some Kenyan athletes who are yet to hit qualification marks for the Olympic Games.
All right, Saddique, thank you very much for that. Saddique Shaban joining us live there from Iten, Kenya.